In 2006, the beverage marketing company Power Brands was co-founded by Darren Ezra and Martin Molina, both of whom had prior experience in the beverage industry. What we've got here is an independent clause and a dependent clause. And so we can't combine them with a period because this one is a relative clause, always a form of the dependent clause. So it can't stand alone. It has to lean on the independent clause. So we need to combine these two, but not create a compound sentence. So the first alternative, no change, is not acceptable. C is also not acceptable because that treats both of them as independent clauses. B changes both of whom to both of them, which actually does create a subject. And in that case, this is an independent clause. And at that point, they've changed it so that we only have a comma here, and a comma isn't going to be able to put together two independent clauses. That's not appropriate glue to hold them together. And so we'll have a comma splice. So B is also not an acceptable answer, which means D is. So Darren Ezra and Martin Molina, comma, both of whom had experience. So the comma does work in place of the period here. Number 2, the company expanded rapidly. It currently employs people in more than a dozen countries. In this one, they're trying to trick us because once again, they've got which one doesn't work. So many of these options are going to work, but this one is not. The company expanded rapidly, period. It currently employs people in more than a dozen countries. Two independent clauses. So the way it currently is isn't going to be a good choice because it's correct. We're looking for the incorrect one. So if we just change the period to a semicolon, which is what's going on here, this is also not going to be a good choice because that does work. The semicolon correctly combines the two independent clauses. The next one, what we've got is the company expanded rapidly and currently employs. We've dropped the subject here, and actually that is going to work then because you're just you're moving on. You don't have an independent clause here, and just moving forward is fine. Next one, the company expanded rapidly, comma, currently employing people in more than a dozen countries. That's also going to be fine because we don't have an independent clause. Once again, we've dropped our subject and we've actually also dropped this verb. The last one, the company expanded rapidly. It currently employs. Now this one is going to be our best answer because it doesn't work. The company expanded rapidly, comma, it currently employs. What they're using here is a comma in place of the period. So that would be a comma splice. And so it's going to be our best answer for the one that doesn't work. Next reading. Since I learned to control a pencil at the age of 4, writing has been one of my favorite activities. Now, they're using a semicolon here, which implies that these are two independent clauses. And this one is an independent clause, but this one here is a dependent clause. It's starting with the word since, which makes it a dependent clause. We have a subject and verb, but what we don't have is a complete thought. The word since leaves us hanging. And that's why these two need to be combined together, but not as compound sentence to create a compound sentence. So the way it currently is not working for us. The next one, since I learned to control a pencil at the age of 4, writing, which has been one of my favorite activities, once again, this isn't going to work because we've eliminated this, but we've changed and we've basically turned this entire thing into a dependent clause. It used to have has, but right now we've eliminated, with this alternative, we've eliminated the verb. So that's not going to work. For C, since I learned to control a pencil at the age of 4, period. Writing has been one of my favorite activities. Once again, they're treating this as if it was an independent clause, and it's not. It's a dependent clause. So our last alternative, since I learned to control a pencil at the age of 4, writing has been one of my favorite activities. That's exactly the right way to combine a dependent clause and an independent clause. The next option, today I keep a journal. I set aside time to write in it each day. This is another one where they want the answer that doesn't work. This right now currently works because we do have 2 independent clauses. What we are going to option 1, today I keep a journal, I set aside time to write in it every day. This actually is going to be our best answer because that does not work. That's a comma splice and it's not going to be right. But let's verify by looking at G, H, and J. Today, I keep a journal, and I set aside time. Okay, this is also good glue, it's comma conjunction, and that can combine 2 independent clauses. So it's not going to work because it is a good way of working 2 independent clauses. Today, I keep a journal, semicolon, I set aside time. Also good glue. Today, I keep a journal and set aside time. By getting rid of this subject here and the comma, I've actually got a good sentence. And so the best answer, because it doesn't work, is F.